Alright, today, I'm going to talk about my journey to getting M-rated games. When I was younger, I played a lot of Wii games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Mario Kart Wii and games in that ballpark. Only being able to play tier-rated games on occasion, but never M. The only time that I was allowed to play M-rated games was when I went to one of my mother's friend's house and got to play games with this child. I would say that my interest in M-rated games started to spike when I was in 5th grade, when I was watching a lot of Call of Duty, Halo and Mortal Kombat music videos. Also, there were plans for me to get an Xbox 360 in the second semester of my 5th grade year, and my friend was suggesting those games. On the day that the Xbox 360 was given to me, it was the day after 5th grade graduation and I didn't have anyone's number, so the multiplayer aspect didn't matter. But when I got the Xbox, it was a bundle that came with 2 games. One of them was Batman Arkham City, to which the franchise will be a major player in this story, but I was able to keep the game because of its T14 rating. The other game was Darksiders 2, an M-rated game, which was taken away from me by my mother, and I have not seen the game since. So I was left with Batman Arkham City to enjoy. At first, it was the most realistic game that I had ever played up to that point, and I didn't play it at night. There was a learning curve and an adjustment period, but after watching my favorite content creators play the game and make it simpler for me, that's when I started enjoying the game more. I was no longer scared of the game, as it became my favorite game to play for the whole summer. Now it's time for 6th grade. I'm at a whole new school, in a different part of the town, so I need friends. I was able to make friends, and the connection stemmed out to being friends on Xbox. But when it came to playing games together, that was not possible. While I was playing Batman and Minecraft, these people were playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and Ghosts. Also, Grand Theft Auto 5 was a popular option. We saw each other every day, but we weren't able to expand on our connection by playing the same games. So that Christmas, I asked for a bunch of M-rated games, not just to play with them, but because these games actually interested me. 2013 was a stacked year for gaming, having Grand Theft Auto 5, Call of Duty Ghosts, Battlefield 4, Assassin's Creed for Black Flag, Splinter Cell Blacklist and Deadpool and Saints Row 4. There were also games like Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Halo 4 and Mortal Kombat 9 that had come out relatively recently. I put all of them on my Christmas list, and while I was not expecting all of them, this had the opportunity to be an absolutely stacked Christmas. There's so much content in those games that they could potentially last me until the next school year for single-player play. And with multiplayer, that just adds more life to the game, especially Grand Theft Auto Online. So on the morning of Christmas 2013, I got Batman Arkham Origins, which was on my list. But then after that, I started getting knockoff versions of what I wanted. Like I wanted Mortal Kombat 9, but got Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which was an older and much cleaner T-rated version of what I originally wanted. I also got games like Need for Speed, Most Wanted and Forza Horizon. These were games that I did not ask for, making that the first time that my Christmas list was ignored. Since I didn't ask for these games, this left Batman Arkham Origins as the only real game that I could play, to which I ended up beating handily. I messed around with the multiplayer a bit, but that was it. That was Christmas. While everyone on my friends list were playing COD Ghost in GTA 5, I was stuck with racing games. After this, for the next few months, I looked up videos on how to get your parents to buy you M-rated games and started writing my own persuasive essays. I even showed my mother some positive parental reviews on Grand Theft Auto 5, but they were not budging. Apparently, I was not mature enough. First off, that hurt because everyone else around me was mature enough and their parents thought that they could handle the games. So this was not good for my development, as I actually thought that there was something wrong with me. But the reason why me not being mature was an invalid answer was because her definition of maturity changed with the wind and it was completely arbitrary. Some days I was told that I would have to wait until I was 18. On other days, I was told that I couldn't get those games because I wasn't getting good grades in my classes. I used to be an honor roll student in elementary, but since switching to a more taxing school in the richer part of town, obviously, the grades dropped off and I was a C student, which was still passing, but they didn't think that was a good grade. Some days, I had to wait until I was 18. Some days it was about grades, some days it was just some completely random nonsense, and since I failed to be nice at a specific moment, that means that I'm immature and untrustworthy. Just completely ignoring the totality of my actions and hyper-focusing on one potentially bad deed. Then some days, I would never get answers on how I can prove myself to be a more mature person. My mother set the criteria, and they adjusted it every time so that I'm always in the wrong. Eventually, I gave up on trying to please them in their biased criteria, and one day, I got this free game called Hitman Absolution. I played it a lot until one day, when we were on a spring 2014 vacation. I was playing the game in front of her, and when she saw the Hitman Absolution screen, she said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be playing this." So the next time that I turned the Xbox on and tried to play it, I was met with a parental controls code, where I could not play any M-rated game without the code. To me, this was completely unfair, although I bet that she thought that she was justified since she's the one that bought the Xbox. But in the end, she didn't seem willing to buy M-rated games with her money, so I just downloaded a free one, which should not be a problem at all, but to her it was, so she set a passcode on it. And although I looked at YouTube videos on how to break the code and tried everything, the passcode is still on the Xbox 360 to this day. So that ruled out M-rated games until I was able to get an Xbox One in Christmas 2015. Until then, I had to play kiddie alternative games like Warface and Gotham City Imposters. I even got Disney Infinity in summer 2014 when I saw the pirate ship and the sneaking round in Monsters University, which reminded me of Assassin's Creed for Black Flag and Splinter Cell Blacklist respectively. It even had a toy box mode that reminded me of GTA 5. I got the game and tried out everything that it had to offer, but about 30 minutes in, I cried because this game just flat out couldn't recreate what I saw from the M-rated games. The only major development was that I got Batman Arkham Asylum in spring 2015, completing the Arkham trilogy at the time, and this will be important on Christmas 2015. So in 2015, the new Arkham game was released in the summer. I saw my favorite YouTuber play it, and my friend got it a bit before Christmas and was relaying their experience to me. This made me so excited to be able to play the game. The only problem was the M rating that was attached to Batman Arkham Knight. But that should be no problem because my mother literally bought me all 3 Arkham games before Knight. Like it's familiar territory. It has the M rating, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're offering the same quality of inappropriate content as Grand Theft Auto 5 and Assassin's Creed 4. So I asked for it for Christmas, but didn't get it. Fine. But this time for Christmas, my father, that I'll just refer to as Clown, came down for Christmas, which was a first. So the Clown offered to buy me a game for Christmas. We went to a local GameStop, and when I pointed to Arkham Knight, as that would make for the perfect Christmas, the Clown said, "It's rated M, he'll have to wait until I'm 18 to play it." Then a few seconds after, he said that when we get back to the house, he'll check it out with my mother and we'll talk about it. This made no sense because this Clown isn't even in my life. He can decide how to spend his money, but he doesn't get any say on when I can buy M-rated games because he's not living with me, has not even a parent. But they quote-unquote check the game out. Despite not getting Arkham Knight for Christmas, I still thought that my mother would come through for me, because she literally bought me all of the Arkham games, and if they did their homework, they could see that, while some violent stuff was added to the game, this game still resembles the Arkham games of the past that are rated T. Also, I was allowed to watch a full playthrough of Arkham Knight, which was no different from playing the game, so if you're going to let me watch it, then playing can't be worse. But that's not what happened, as they checked, or told me that they checked, and said no. The reason why I don't believe this is because they were anti-M-rated game from the start. This was apparent when the Clown wrote off my request because Arkham Knight was an M-rated game, without even knowing anything about it. This was also apparent in the spring of 2014, where parental controls were set on my Xbox to not only block out the M-rated games that I requested for Christmas, but to block out all M-rated games, regardless of if she knew any information about it or not. So at this point, I had been waiting 2 years to play M-rated games and trying everything that I could. But the dumb, situational criteria was in place, meaning that I was never going to get them. So later that night, I locked the door because I needed some alone time after being betrayed. It does not make sense how a clown that has been away from the family for ages has more say than me, someone that's been in the family for 13 years at that point. It's flat out a betrayal. So I closed the door. But my grandparents didn't understand this concept and were not going for it, as they forced the door open and lectured about how the door should stay unlocked. My mother and the Clown were also outside of the room. Years later, I'm fully convinced that all of them are sadists because they knew what was happening in there. But they opened the door just because and didn't have anything to say. They just wanted to see my face for no reason. Then after this the clown tackled me to the ground and spanked me, which had me fighting for my life against the 300-pound ogre as a 120-pounder. This wasn't the first time, nor would it be the last, easily going down as an abuser in my books. After this, I was taken to a hospital for evaluation because this was a thing in that time period. A year before and 2 years after, I had stays at a mental hospital because my mother believed that it was the mental one. To which no one was mental, but with the decisions that she was making, she has to understand that there will be pushback, especially when the criteria changes every day and they don't want to take accountability in this, acting like a victim, when they were at the door egging this on like a sadist. So that was the end of Christmas 2015. My birthday is in January, so when I was younger and relied a lot on money and gifts from others, the winter time was the only time to make that happen, as I'd have to go a little less than a year until Christmas. Then my birthday is a little more than a month away. The week before my birthday, I was taken to this gaming place. When I saw Batman Arkham Knight, I asked my mother if I could play it and she said yes. I spent my whole time there playing it. Then the next week, on my actual birthday, I was woken up by my mother saying let's go get that game. And that's what happened. We went to Walmart and got it. I had so much fun playing Batman Arkham Knight because it was the ending of the Arkham series and it had much better gameplay and DLC than the others. There was just so much content in there, but in the end, the game released in 2015. I got it in 2016 and I turned 18 in 2020. I can confidently say that it would not have been worth waiting until then to play the game. It was a ridiculous criteria, so I was glad that I was able to play the game much earlier. Arkham Knight lasted me for a good while, all the way up until May. I assumed that Batman Arkham Knight could be the gateway into getting other M-rated games, as that's how she treated them. She didn't look at the contents of the game on a one-by-one basis. She blacklisted all M-rated games. So if I was allowed to play one, then surely, I'd be allowed to play them all, right? Wrong, as I was shut down when I asked for Grand Theft Auto 5. So I decided to hide her medicine and would not budge until I got the game. Eventually, my aunt got me Grand Theft Auto 5 shortly after. And that was my gateway to playing M-rated games for good, as I was also able to get Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Unity and Syndicate. My story ends there, as in that summer, I was transitioning over to high school and I never really had the time to play games like that. I would maybe play a Watch Dogs here and there, but I believed that the golden age of gaming was over, which was that 2013 to 2014 time period. And I just flat out didn't have much time to play games or anyone to play games with. There was less time for games as people took their studies seriously and started looking at college and their career, so I had to adapt as well. I'm writing this 10 years after December 2013. Now, I'm a 21-year-old guy that doesn't have to worry about this stuff. One reason is because I'm not a big gamer anymore, but also, now, I can get whatever game that I want without relying on anyone, which feels great. Back then, I didn't really have my own money, so I was at the mercy of others. Now, I make those calls and I'm glad that it got to this point. The criterias being made were nonsense and I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore. I look at myself as the best judge. Sure, the money aspect was a thing back then, but I don't really need them trying to say what I can and can't handle. I mean, even before I got games like GTA and Arkham Knight, I was watching playthroughs of them and didn't turn into a psychopath. I was fine with the content. It was suitable for me, and that's why I kept on coming back to it. I don't replicate what I see in video games because I know that it's just a game and I feel that my maturity wasn't being respected or tested accurately at all. Like when grades were being brought into it. That's when the conversation became ridiculous. I could see if that was a requirement for me to play the games. That's understandable. But the fact that I was getting C's in school doesn't make me an immature person. That's ridiculous. Anyways, yay. That's all I got for this video.